Hi everyone, Matt Hetherington here, back with another coaching video, and in today's table tennis tutorial I want to look a little bit more at the closed table forehand counter. So I think this really in the past 3 years or so, once players started getting used to the plastic ball and once a new generation of players started developing their game around the comparative limitations of the plastic ball, has become much more prominent. This closed table forehand counter. Certainly we used to see players playing close to the table on the backhand more and stepping away to try and play with more power on the forehand. But as times have changed, players like Lim Yun-ju and Harimoto have become very proficient at playing that earlier bounce and close table counter. I'm going to start off by running through some very simple little guidelines and tips for how to execute this close table counter, and then I have a few demonstrations from multi-ball drills that I've been doing, and also a couple of more point style scenarios from when I was actually practicing my long push, which was a couple of days ago. The first thing that you really need to focus on when you're doing these close table counters is positioning and having a stable foundation of body weight. So you really need to make sure you're in position, your knees are bent, your body weight's low, and that everything, the center of gravity is in the middle and everything is very well balanced. So usually when you're doing these close table counters, everything has to be very precise because you're dealing with a faster or spinnier oncoming ball. You can't afford to have body weight still moving around or not being balanced or centered. Everything has to be really well centered and in position, and that means that your legs have to be very stable and you have to line the ball up in the right place. One of the challenging things about doing a close table counter loop is that we have much less time, and we're dealing with a lot of speed and spin on the incoming ball, and because we're playing close to the table, we don't have the time as opposed to being back from the table where we build up to play with a lot of power. So the goal of playing a close table counter is speed. We want to take the ball early in the bounce, so as the ball's rising off the table, and we're going to use that acceleration. We're going to use the forward momentum of the ball, the force on the ball, the topspin on the ball, and the acceleration from a rising bounce to harness and use in our stroke. So what we're going to do, we get in position, we're going to close the angle because we're dealing with more topspin and we're dealing with a lot of acceleration, and basically you're just going to accelerate with the core and forearm together and try and play over the top of the ball. The next thing that I would say is really important, and this is the part that really takes the practice, get the timing and the feel right. This is so important, and it's not just the timing of the ball early in the bounce, it's also the timing of everything working together. So it's the half stroke from the forearm, the hip and core rotation, and the push, a little bit of a push from the toes, that help you drive and add that extra bit of acceleration to the ball, and also making sure that you tighten a little bit over the top of the ball in order to get that extra bit of acceleration. I would say when you're practicing this in the beginning, it's good to play cross court more. Obviously playing cross court is the safer option. So when you're trying to feel this out and practice the technique, try and focus more on the cross court. Once you've become more comfortable playing cross court, it's really good to develop this shot down the line. If you can get an early counter down the line and add that extra bit of speed, then you have the range to play anywhere on the table. It's good to start out with something simple when you're practicing this. So here is a demonstration of a topspin loop feed from Adam Hugh and me playing some forehand counters early in the bounce. Another great drill that you can practice, which I used in my video yesterday, is capitalizing off a heavy long push and getting that softer opening. So here are a couple of points of a serve, a heavy long push, and then countering off that softer opening. Simple. Another good drill that I like to practice, which really helped me a lot when I was developing my game after the plastic ball, is working on multi-ball in pairs, where you're doing one flick against the short ball, and then when the ball comes back topspin, you're recovering to play early in the bounce. So I found this extremely useful, especially on my forehand side, and here's an example of that. So there are some small tips and ideas about the early forehand counter or the close table forehand counter, and hopefully some of you players out there will find that useful. I definitely encourage people to think very much about how far back they play from the table and whether playing closer to the table and developing this shot will be useful for their game. I found it has helped me tremendously. Being able to play forehand earlier in the bounce close to the table instead of backing off so much, and particularly with the plastic ball, I think this is really just the way that the game's heading. So definitely a shot worth practicing to try and keep up with the ever-changing game. And yes, hopefully some of the parts of this video help you with that. So thank you for joining me. As usual, very easy to get in contact with me if you have any questions, and look forward to having you guys joining me again tomorrow for my next coaching video.